watched The Devil's Disciple and The Devil's Disciple this week. When did you watch them?
The Devil's Disciple, 1980. Well, the first time 1987 because it's from 1987.
It is from 1987.
And I saw it at the time many times, but I think maybe up to 10 years after that, I've never seen it again.
What about The Devil's Disciple from 1959?
59.
Black and white.
I saw it the once. And I have a lot to say it, even though I saw it the once. And again in
1990.
90, yeah.
Yeah. So 30 years ago. Right. How good's your memory?
I think I'm gonna say pretty good. The 1987 version. I have to say that first because I usually make a little paper on which we have like the information, and so I go to IMDb to get that information.
Yeah.
I couldn't find
Wikipedia.
it. I couldn't find it.
Wikipedia has pages though.
Yes, but the problem was that it is a BBC production, and we know it as a BBC production.
Yes.
But it's on
television.
It is on IMDb as being part of Theatre Night TV series.
Yes.
So it's an episode.
I saw that, on Wikipedia.
It is an episode of Theatre Night TV series.
A Canadian British co-production.
Yeah, but what it is a vessel.
Which really sounds to me like Canada forced the money and the Brits made it.
No, it's not.
Because there's no Canadians in there.
But no, the thing is, it has nothing to do with Canada at all. No. It is a BBC production, and it has been bundled in the States and Canada under this banner. So it has nothing to do. Right. So I was kind of annoyed. This is a separate thing. It has a separate picture. The picture, by the way, is now listed under a 1947 film. It has Patrick Stewart on it.
What?
Yeah.
Is this IMDb?
Yeah.
Okay, somebody needs to go fix that. This is not good.
So it is a completely separate production. Has nothing to do with any other production that is part of this same series. It's just accidental. So I was kind of... But I saw it as BBC because in 1986 we got BBC. And the very next year, you had this on. Yes. And being Dutch, I have to go to Dutch school and I have to learn English as a foreign language, which.
And they don't do Shaw and they don't do Shakespeare. Forget it. No.
They don't do Shaw and Shakespeare for the content, but they also don't do Shaw and Shakespeare because it is short. I actually put this one on my final list.
You were not allowed to do any literary works that were that short.
Because it was short. No place because it was short. So what I did was I stuck it on there, and the next year I actually put the Shakespeare on there for the one. I've put the Shakespeare this one on there, and then offset it with the two towers talking this thick, so they couldn't complain that it was too short. My entire list.
Like the average. So there wasn't really a ban on plays. There was just a
short.
If you were caught putting a lot of short works on your list,
and nothing to do with the play. But
and with the list she means to get literature credits.
I believe we had to read 7 books, and you had to do book reports and stuff like that to get for actual final exam for English, and English was mandatory.
Year. Yeah.
Not in half. For half was last 2 years. No, you didn't do half. Point is, I really enjoyed it, so it was very easy for me to put it on the list because I had the video. We had the video version, and it's glorious. And the thing about BBC in 1987, basically from 1970 until 1990, whenever they put on a play, especially by Shaw or Shakespeare, it's going to be word perfect. It's going to be basically the play. That's it. You don't have to go sitting down, read the play. You can just skim it, and that's what they said. They don't take anything significantly out, and they don't put anything in. They don't change anything. So this is the play. So very simple, definitive version. This is it. Which brings you straight to the 59 version.
Yeah, the 59 version. So, 59 version, they did not have such constraints as we would like to do it verbatim.
I hated that version. That's why I only watched it the once, and I never watched it again. So I really like. I like Kirk Douglas. We got
Burt Lancaster,
Kirk Douglas, and Laurence Olivier is even in this thing.
Yeah, he's General Burgoyne.
And they are great. But this is from 1990 that I remember it. I remember they were doing fine until they got to a point, and then they completely went off script. That's what I remember.
They went off script almost immediately.
It was still it was doable up to a definite point. Yeah. When they started to make...
They lost you.
They started...
You were gone.
The point of the story is that there's one guy who is an action guy and then one guy who is a passive guy. And in the play, the moment the passive guy decides, and now I need to do some action, but it's a passive kind of action. And they got that wrong. They made him do action.
Yeah.
And, no.
Yeah. They make him like the big strong man that is like a Herculean. It's even somewhere in reviews and stuff, it's like it's almost superhuman.
Yeah.
Like a Superman kind of thing. Suddenly it turns out to be Superman.
And he's just a minister.
He doesn't need to be Superman to do what he needs to do.
And
he needs to get the militia to organize themselves, and that's really all he needs to do.
And in the 87 version, it's played by Patrick Stewart, and this is just before.
And it's in the lines as well that he says that he is significantly older.
And
he says he's in his 50s.
This is just before Patrick Stewart became the captain of the Enterprise, and he was also already an unlikely captain of the Enterprise. But he is like a stick figure in this thing. That's the point of him. He's a stick figure. He is thin, and he's a talker.
I thought he was gutsy and
but he is not.
He goes to do his thing.
They pick for the 1959 version. They pick Burt Lancaster to play the parts.
I know,
and that's stupid. And I understand why Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster want to play this, and why they ask Laurence Olivier to come and do it. But I think they were completely wrong cast.
I would have switched them.
Exactly.
I would have made Burt Lancaster Dick Dudgeon.
Yeah.
And then Kirk Douglas in the very serene, but you kind of feel that there might be something bubbling under the surface.
He could do that really well.
And Anthony... Andrews? Now I'm lost. Give me the name. Anderson.
Yeah, Pastor Anderson.
Reverend. Reverend. He is a Presbyterian reverend. He is not a pastor. They're Presbyterians.
In the 87 version, she keeps calling him Pastor Anderson.
She does say, yeah, they keep saying pastor. But that may be because the playwright is Irish.
George Bernard Shaw is not writing about this time period if he doesn't know what the F he's doing.
I don't know.
This is before the revolution. It's literally just before the revolution. They're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So they're all still British and Irish and not American.
Yes, but they're Presbyterians. It's specifically mentioned.
She keeps calling him Pastor Anderson.
She does. She says Pastor Anderson. Anyway. So I figured the whole thing is like everybody's screwed up by religion. And I don't want to diss any religions right now. But everybody is screwed up by religion because the Dudgeons, the mother is screwed up by religion because you don't get to see this in the film version. But in the full integral version, there's the whole information of why is she so bitter. Well, the previous reverend had told her to get married to...
I need to say this. Reverend is wrong. A reverend is wrong. They're doing it wrong in the 59 version. That's wrong. I'm going to have to look it up and I'll put something here.
He's the Reverend Anthony Anderson.
Okay. I'll have to look at, because it gets complicated. One of the reasons why I'm getting complicated is because in Dutch these names like pastor, pastor and a pastor are not the same thing. They sound exactly the same, but they're not. A pastor is somebody who is Catholic. And a pastor I have to look up. Yeah. So this is why I'm confused. So I'll look it up.
So many, like ministers, pastors. There's so many different ones in English. So
yeah, and I'll have to look it up. But
good luck with looking it up.
But Mother Dudgeon screwed up.
No, she was screwed up by the previous pastor, minister, or reverend, Presbyterian reverend, who told her to get married to the other brother. They, in the film, they put both, there's the father and the uncle, they're in one person. They don't even say it's the father, the uncle who gets hanged, because he was the bad uncle. He was the free, outspoken, like the Dick Dudgeon one, the bad brother. And then you've got the good brother, which was the one who married this mother and had a bunch of kids, and she was in love with the bad brother, and the reverend told her to marry the good brother because she would have a good life, and she was bitter, and that's why she hates Reverend Anderson, because he married for love. And she says that specifically. Do you know why I hate you? No, I would love it if you told me, because you married for love. And that's fair. She was screwed over by the patriarchy, and
if you leave that out of the 59 version,
all the women stuff has been left out. And there's nominally they're in there. It's even in the trailers, like, oh, so and so plays the mom. Well, you get to see her all of half a scene, and all she says is, "I don't want to stay in your house," which is also not what is in the original version, because he throws her out of the house, and he has plenty of reasons to do so. But if you don't spend any time on the women, also Essie, practically no time spent on Essie in the film. There's I would say even Judith Anderson, a minimal amount of time spent on her. But nobody, what is clear in both versions is that Shaw was not only trying to say something about, various people's self-image and destiny and what they're actually good at, but he's also saying all women everywhere are screwed, because the mother says to the guy who reads the will. She says, is it a good will? No, it is a badly worded will, and it's actually probably not even a legal will. She says, well, why won't I be able to get my dues? He says, because the courts will uphold any man and any man's son over the wishes of a woman.
However well worded.
And that is very important in this.
And they leave it all out. This 50. The Shaw actually forbade a bunch of his films while he was alive. He refused to be in movies, because he had a couple of the Pygmalion. He didn't like that as well, because they changed, and it didn't change a lot, but it changed a couple of. You can't change anything, because he writes the way he writes, because he has to say. He wants to say that, and you muck it around, and this is so mucked up. That's why I never watched. And I love Burt Lancaster, and I love Kirk Douglas.
Oh my god!
And Lawrence Olivier, please.
Yeah.
But I'm never gonna watch this movie again, because the way they mucked it up, and
they also at the ending where so Dick Dudgeon is now, he's clearly reformed. They're literally pushing it towards. You're going to be the minister now. It's like, why would he suddenly become really? That's so not on. And the Judith Anderson, who by this time has kind of fallen in love with Dick Dudgeon, because hello, and he saved her husband, and he was about to sacrifice himself, and as a Christ figure, which is of course something that she would very much appreciate, because it's the 1770s. This is not a woman from now. This is 1770s, and all she's ever heard in her entire life is religion, religion, religion. So yes, she will respect what he has done, and she wanted to, and she's very young. They did that a little bit better in this one than in the TV version is that they're making it a lot clearer how young she is. She's like maybe 16, 17, 18. You know,
Okay.
she's to the point of childishly young.
No, but that's not true, because they were married already many years.
Not many, but they were definitely established.
5 years married, so she cannot possibly have been 16.
Yeah.
She's 23 or something like that.
No, she does not act like that at all. And then he says at the end of the movie, which cannot be in the play, he says, okay, now it's us then. Will you come home? Kind of, will you come home with me? And then she runs away. And it's like, what did she just did? She's like, is she crying because yes, she wants to do it, or no, she doesn't want to do that? And then she runs up the hill, and there is Reverend Anderson on, it's Burt Lancaster on a horse, so that always looks good. And he grabs her, she goes willingly on the horse, and off they ride. That's not in the play. It is not even a question of whether or not she would leave her husband. Of course she won't leave her husband.
There's no such thing as leaving
her husband. And nothing happened other than speaking to each other. No. And yes, she had feelings, but he would never ask her to. In the play, he says he will never find out, and they clasp hands, and of course they will never tell Anderson about it.
No, he doesn't need to know that.
These are decent people. Yeah, the film was not well received.
Kirk
Douglas. Burt Lancaster.
You know what?
Olivier. It should be well received.
No, filmmaking and people now in the movie the movie makers still make the mistake that you say, oh, we have like three different great names: Burt Lancaster, Kirk Douglas, and Laurence Olivier in a great supporting part, and that should be just add water and stir, and it'll be a perfect movie. And that is not true. You need to do the rest of the work as well. And if they had just done the play as written, it is fine.
It would have
been fine. I mean,
would
it have been a brilliantly selling movie? Maybe not, but then this one wasn't either.
No, it wasn't. It was a dud. And I think in 1959 they were too late. They had some troubles with the rights, which, you're saying he didn't want to sell the rights. Well, there was the estate. In 1938, there was the estate, and then things got sold back and forth. And by the time they made it, it was 1959, which is really late. If they'd done this in 1950, besides which, it's a black and white movie. If you're going to say we're going to do the big battle and we're going to do the blowing up of the powder keg and we're going to do like the strong arm stuff, do that, but do it in color in 1959.
In 1959, you're on the cusp. In 1963, everything was in color, but in 1959, it was still a question of is this worth doing this in color, because it was so expensive. And if this is already like because it's Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas and the subject matter, even though they mucked it up, I think it's a passion project for them too, to get this done. But
they had their own production company.
Why did they let it be mucked up?
Effectively, they were indies. We would now say they would be they're independent.
But if they're
indies,
to
make films together.
If they're indies, then they should be able to say, we're just going to do this what it says, and they let themselves be influenced somehow into changing it. They do not touch George Bernard Shaw stuff unless you can do something that is extremely better than it, and which there's those things.
What gives you the hubris to think that you can do it better than Bernard Shaw? It's like, why? What are the credentials that whatever the screenplay writer thought that they could do? What they did do right, which you should do when you're doing a movie, is if there's a battle scene, show some of the battle scene. If you have, so it's a 3-actor. So if you do, if you can mix it up, which they did with their locations. And they went on location in England. That's nice.
That's great.
So they went on location in England, so they had everything looking a lot more like the 18th century than the backlot may have looked. But then you can move it around. But some of the things that they decided, there's several characters that merged into one character instead of. It's just not necessary.
One of the things they could have done, if you go from the 1987 version, because that's what I have one in my head, like verbatim, and that is straight up the play just put on television, and that's what they did in 87. That's what BBC was best at. Just take the play and put it on. But the thing is that the play is, of course, a bunch of scenes in a bunch of static places because it's a play. Yeah. It's set
you got the house, then you've got the
pastor's house.
Yeah, and then you've got the courthouse.
And then you've got the open space
outside of the courthouse.
But there's alluded to scenes where Anderson actually goes to get the militia. There are scenes where the hanging of Uncle Dudgeon. Yep. And yes, you should be able to show those scenes and make a good show of that, and then just do the rest of the play. The play is perfectly composed because from one scene to the next, I mean, you don't need those in between bits, but if you're going to be able to show them, yes. But
that's one of the reasons why you would want to make a movie and you would want to be grand. And then I think, please do it in color, because if they'd done it in color, it would have been a lot more effective.
In 59, it was maybe too expensive for an indie.
Especially for indies, yeah.
In 63, everything was in color. In 59, it wasn't. And if they'd done the play, and from the play, so let's go back to the 87 version because I love it. Because it was Patrick Stewart and a chappie called Mike, I believe it's pronounced Willem, that's a Welsh name, and Welsh names are hard to pronounce. And I've only ever seen the supporting cast other than Ian Richardson as General Burgoyne. He's a name that came on television. Everybody is stage people. They're all stage people. Guy. Yeah, they're all stage people. The ladies.
Gwilym is from the Royal Shakespeare Company, as is Patrick Stewart. And I'm going to assume that Ian Richardson was as well. So it's a Royal Shakespeare Company production ensemble anyway, that they got people together.
And basically, and this is a case of you take good actors, you take a good play, you get a director who knows what he's doing.
Some
pour
them wardrobe.
You don't even grade. I mean,
the wardrobe is good.
It was good, but it doesn't have to be great. You don't even need any in between scenes. You just pour it out, and now this is instant success.
I also felt that the wardrobe in the men's coats were beautiful if they'd been in color in the film, but the women's wardrobe was better, I feel, in the UK version. They also had done a rendition of Poldark about 10 years earlier, so they would have had all the women's clothes all sorted out, which you could see because they had a different cut than the ones in the film, and the film was a little bit farmhouse comparatively speaking.
BBC, from when TV got going, because TV in Europe got going a little bit later than in the States, so by 1962, 66, BBC, they're doing full-time TV. They had been doing what they call a Sunday a tea time drama. It was literally every day about an hour on from a book of like Sense and Sensibility. They did Jane Eyre. They did everything for 20 years, and then once they ran out of this tea time stuff, they did all of Dickens. They did all Musketeer. They did everything, and they got so much wardrobe and so much stuff that the way of producing it was so easy for them by this time. Mm-hmm. And this is like 87 is the tail end of that. Yeah. After about 1990, people started to feel you need more modern. But this is the pinnacle of this type, mm-hmm. and I can more highly recommend this mm-hmm. to watch. And basically, definitive version of this play. You don't have to read it. Go watch this thing. Yeah, that is it.
And it's on YouTube.
Is it? Good.
It's on YouTube in its entirety. So
enjoy.
So it's absolutely accessible to anyone. It's not even a bad, it's good, clear image.
It was recorded on TV tape and not on film, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So it's not the bestest.
It's the 3x4, but it's
and
very
fussy,
very nice. And also, so you're saying BBC has a history of making stuff like this, all this period stuff. Well, problem with an indie company that says, okay, let's go to England and let's have these nice actors and let's just go for it. And obviously that's how they got Laurence Olivier. And the thing with that is there's not a huge amount of American film industry doing Revolutionary War. There's much later there was The Patriot, and that was one of the few that is actually a memorable.
Yeah, and even then, there's many issues around it of authenticity, also interest. People are just more interested.
They want to do civil wars, but they don't. The Civil War, but they don't. They're not really that into the Independence War for some reason. But it's an interesting time period because it's literally a century earlier, and so everything's different. It's like, the world is different, life is different, and the thing what doesn't show in the film and does show a little bit more in the TV integral version is that life was ruled by religion. And that was true throughout the Middle Ages, all the way up to about they were Puritans, the people that this is written about. This is a set of Puritan family, and the town is Puritan as a Puritan, Presbyterians in this case, and that rules their lives, and that created this decent guy who calls himself the Devil's Disciple. Because he doesn't understand how to be himself within the structure of the worldview that has been given to him.
Yes, because of
and he can't live in a valley of tears, and he needs to have joy in his life.
Because the mother interprets from indications she gets from the other minister, who makes her marry the man who she doesn't love, but and let go the man that she does love. That austerity is the way to godliness, and so she teaches her children austerity and lack and punishment, and for that he rebels against that and says, this is not the way. I cannot be that, and if it cannot be this good, because that is what good apparently is, then I'll be bad. I'll be the devil's disciple.
Yeah, they must have gotten it wrong. The fun is going to be had, and the love is going to be had from the other side, which is, you go down instead of go up. It's like, okay, if there's no love up, then I'm going to look for it down.
Because I do want love. I do want...
Because he says, when he gets the house, he says, this is my house and no child shall ever cry in it. And cower at the night of dark of night at the fire, crying. It's like, that is so telling about how absolutely horrendous their life was. And you can see it in his brother, because his brother had all the sense smashed out of him by the mother. And also Essie, who has been given into their care because it was an illegitimate child of the uncle, which in the film I don't even know whose illegitimate child she then is, because there is no uncle. It was the father that was...
I think in 1959 they couldn't say that she was an illegitimate child of anybody.
Yeah. Well, the problem is
just to hang her on. However,
she is definitely a full cousin of Dick Dudgeon, therefore he cannot make her his love interest. Yes, she can stay in the house, but he's going to have to be like an uncle type figure and find a nice husband for her somewhere else. And in the if it is actually a half sister, then it's almost a given that she has to stay in the house, but it's at the same time very weird.
She's not a half sister in the 59 version. In the 59 version, she's just a relative that got thrown onto them.
Yeah, and they don't go into it.
And they don't go into it because they can't. It's in 59.
One, they can't, and two, they don't spend that much time.
But she's Jane Eyre basically. That's the relationship.
Yeah, she's very. Yeah.
She is
but she's definitely illegitimate somehow.
No, she doesn't even. She doesn't even need to be legitimate to be treated like that, because she's not the natural. She's not a daughter of that mother.
Yeah. She's just given into care, and the mother resents it.
She's just a niece or a cousin or a niece of some sort. Yeah. And she resents it. It's Harry Potter all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And nothing ever changes in that respect.
That's the thing. If the parents die, the kid is screwed.
The thing that the play did, and I suppose the movie tried, is that the play tells the story of the old ways of pre-revolution, and then the revolution happens sort of around them, but they're getting the gist of it. And with that, the future, and that's after the play, the future is going to look a lot better for everybody involved. And maybe the mother is... But the younger generation has a chance now with Pastor Anderson, with Reverend Anderson, now being part of the militia, basically.
Yeah.
And the future. It is what the play is about is the old past and the new future.
And that digs into colonialism. Might be one of the reasons Bernard Shaw wrote it. And I found a version, a Kenyan version.
From Kenya.
From Kenya. They
African
country on YouTube, but it's only there's only the last part of the play is on YouTube, unfortunately. But what they did was they said, okay, this is about the Kenyan police versus the Kenyan people. So, and there's a whole lot of actual physical abuse and putting people into handcuffs and they're in there that could very well be in this play. General Burgoyne is treating everybody gentlemanly because he's gentlemanly Johnny. And the sergeant or whatever he was that came to the house to pick up Pastor Anderson.
Swindon, yeah.
Major Swindon. No, not Major Swindon did not come to the house.
Oh, the sergeant.
The sergeant. He comes to the house and
sergeant has no name.
He says, Dick Dudgeon says, okay, put me in the handcuffs, just leave me away because I can't, And then he says, well, if you're a good boy, he doesn't say it like that, but if you're a good boy, I'll trust you because we're all gentlemen. The whole thing is about, okay, we understand each other. This is only for political reasons that this is happening, and that kept being repeated in the full version. But there's no reason why they would have been that gentlemanly. They could have just said, that may be just because it's going to be a play and everybody needs to be witty.
The reason is, I think that the situation as at the time was they were all British.
Yes,
and they
now make a point of that.
And now in a political situation, whereas if you do it in Kenya and you have the police versus the populace, that's a completely different dynamic.
Yeah. But what you do have is what General Burgoyne says is that these people were actually British before they were here. They're now colonists, colonials, and now they want their own country, and they want to throw England out.
He understands it up to a point. Yes, he cannot agree with it, but he can understand it.
Yeah, and one of the problems with that is that he warns Major Swindon that you can try to have an army made of, he says, German dragoons and
Brunswickers.
Yeah, and a bunch of other things that I can't mention. And we're fighting. Was it 10-1 or something like that? He's saying we're going to do a face-off with 5,000 of our armament against, I think it was like 40,000 of theirs. And we're going to lose because they are actually us. Just, it's not that they are... they have any less technology, any less education, any less... nothing like that. So, yeah. So it is about what happens if colonies... decide to no longer be colonies, and be their own country. And
the reasons why, because the play actually shows very clearly why the American colonies started to lose interest in the States. Apart from the things that you see in the history book, is that the way that the British, Burgoyne is aware of it and he tries to fight against it, but the way people are about, these faraway lands that is sort of, we need to think about them as an afterthought. And Burgoyne, being on the ground and a smart cookie, realizes this is a grave mistake. This is not how you're going to win. Losing the war because somebody forgot to file a movement plan because he was going to be
on holiday
because he's going
to
miss his holiday if he stayed 5 minutes longer. That is how you lose a country like that, and that is why Burgoyne agrees that they deserve to lose. He's on the losing side and he cannot change sides, but he understands why they're losing and he agrees with it.
So they're gonna lose anyway, and that's a given before the whole story starts. However, the Dudgeon family is being picked up off one by one. One, the uncle gets hung as a rebel, mistakenly, because they thought he was of good standing in the other town. And then two, the dad, the brother of the uncle, happens to die that same night. Then three, this thing happens daytime the next day, early the next morning, and the mother dies the next evening, which is why Pastor Anderson has to go there and sit by her and leaves Dick alone with his wife, right? So it's so clever. The play is just completely... Every detail works with each other, but at the same time, I was like, the Dudgeon family is they're ticking off these people. Next is going to be Dick Dudgeon because he's going to be dead, and the only thing you're going to have left is Christy, who all he wants is the China peacocks.
Yeah, and
marry the girl,
and he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll inherit everything at the end, and then he'll hopefully take care of Essie.
I do believe there is.
Fortunately, Dick Dudgeon survives. Sorry, spoilers.
there is a little time between the moment he throws his mother out of the house and before she starts dying. There is a little time.
Yeah, that's early in the morning.
No.
She goes somewhere else and then she dies that evening.
Are you sure?
Yes. I watched 2 in a row. It's
wow.
Oh yes. It's all the same. It's about 38 hours of time, that whole thing. So, yeah, you can wipe out a family apparently that way. The interesting given is that the original mistake happens in the other town when they hang the uncle. They thought, for whatever reason...
They being the British... thought that they were hanging an
upstanding citizen that everybody would
be upset if they lost them, but it turns out he was
and nobody cared because it was just Uncle Dudgeon. And that's why he knows that they're going to come for Minister Anderson.
And
Minister Anderson thinks that because, of course, he is not a rebel, they would never come for him.
Yeah,
but they consider everybody in the town rebels.
Yeah.
All the good citizens, bad citizens, nobody's exempt.
What makes the play, and what should have made the movie, but it didn't, is the banter of these characters between them.
So
especially Burgoyne is extremely wonderful to listen to, the way he talks to Major Swindon about the situation. But he's got it sussed.
Laurence Olivier does that so well.
And those parts on the movie, those parts are going to be where they just do the short text. Yeah. It's going to be great.
It is excellent.
But if you want to do the story, go to the 87 one.
And I have to say that for that was... Kirk Douglas missed a couple of points because the moments where you kind of need a beat and then throw the line out and flatten the audience, he just ran through it really quickly.
Maybe so he was being pushed.
Yeah, maybe he thought that stage acting is you speak faster, and that's you do need to wait.
Kirk Douglas should have his chops. He may just be under too much time pressure.
And it could have been the director. Do we know the director of this one? Guy Hamilton. And they changed directors halfway through. First it was Alexander McKendrick, and then they changed to Guy Hamilton, and I couldn't find anywhere online what the reason was. So that must have been a problem on the set.
So that's...
And then you've probably got half the stuff in the can.
You also have 2 screenplay writers on top of Shaw.
They should have had 0.
They should have had 0. Should somebody who just help rearrange some scenes, but that's it. Do not touch anything.
But I have this fantasy of you get everybody back, all the same people. You get the coat that Kirk Douglas wears, his own coat, is so gorgeous, but you can see barely anything of it because it's black and white. In the clear version, you can see it's shimmering, and you can see there's beautiful patterns and stuff. But it's probably something like a light blue and with yellow or whatever it is. I can't see it. So that's a shame. And then so I want the actors back. I want the clothing back, and the sets were good. It was nice. They had some outdoor locations and stuff, which the TV versions just didn't have. So that's very good. And then I would say, press the button, get somebody in from the Royal Shakespeare Company and said, we're going to film this now and you're going to do it as written. Yeah. No, there's not going to be any ad-libbing here. You're going to do it straight off the page.
No, and he's not going to be hefting a gun or anything like that.
Yes. Oh, Burt Lancaster. I think he did do what was asked, and I think the ask was incorrect.
Yeah.
But he can do what's asked. But it's
and basically that stuff is on the director. I'm sorry, but that's.
And if you're an indie company, I think it's also possible to say, "Dear Mr. Laurence Olivier, you're on set. What do you think?" Because other than that, they were all Americans.
Laurence Olivier
he would have been able to say, "Listen, guys, you are missing the big points here." And he hit the points where he needed to hit the points. He hit them.
I'm sure he's done this role on stage. I mean, this is one of those plays that people love to do because it is actually the like I said, the banter between these characters is so good.
Oh, it's what makes it actually, and that's the thing with the play.
If you run into like a radio play version of it from BBC from any time,
it's gonna be good. Version.
It's gonna be good. I haven't heard it, but it's gonna be good because
there's a BBC 3 radio play from, off the top of my head, it was from 1977, and they repeated it on Radio 7 in the early 2010s. So it should be out there somewhere.
It's going to be in YouTube somewhere.
It's apparently very good.
It's because if you make the policy of when you have a good play, you just do the good play. That's all you need to do. If you have a good play, do the good play.
And this is a good play.
This is a great play.
Absolutely nobody. I mean, the only thing you can say is it may be a little inaccessible to somebody with very little historical information.
No, they do a lot of. He does that first scene.
They do explain a fair bit.
That first scene where it's just the mother talking to the bullying the children
took
around.
That all out of the movie, but without that, you don't have any basis on why this family is the way they are.
And between them, you pick up the situation when the people come in for the will reading, because that's the second scene is when people start coming in for the will reading, and then the third scene is the will reading. They give you so much information in the way that people talk about to each other on when they are and where they are. And what did I know about colonial American life? I didn't know anything.
I didn't know anything first time.
And I got everything from this play, and it leaves a lot of things out. But what you need to know to follow the play is in there. It explains to you that these are rural people who live in a small town. They have just enough money to not starve, but not enough to actually feed everybody that are falling into their laps. A table ornament is a thing to be prized. They are. And they are rich enough to have a table ornament, but they're poor enough to say, okay, this should be in a will to be bequeathed, otherwise we get a squabble about it. And so it gives you all this little bits of information, and the revolution or the coming up revolution is on the back burner for these people because that is not what they're doing.
They don't consider themselves rebels.
No.
So up until at the
they have to be told. They have to be told that they are rebels.
And the only reason that Dick knows about it is because he's not been home. He's been everywhere else, and he's seen things happening. And he says, "You consider yourself upstanding citizens, and you're loyal to the crown. The problem is the crown doesn't think you are." So it doesn't matter what you think you are. Yeah, you are rebels, and then they all run out of the house. He does it to scare them because he wants them gone.
Yeah, and so the play itself gives you, as a person who's vaguely heard of the revolution, but that's about it. Enough information to follow this play
and even
perfectly.
Vaguely heard of what life was like in the 18th century.
And this play takes you all the way from that first scene to later when General Burgoyne is talking to Major Swindon about troop movements, and you can follow everything no problem because the play got you there. Yeah. This play it's
excellent. It should be shown in every school at age like 14 or something like that. This is always good.
This is always a great play.
Yeah.
And it requires no fixing.
Nope. Do not fix, it ain't broke.
and I have to say, that is my opinion.
And that is my opinion.
And
we're sticking to it.